It was supposed to be a regular Tuesday. Pancakes, school drop-offs, grocery runs. But when three armed men broke into the house on Rosewood Lane, they didn't know they had just walked into a real-life nightmare. Not for the mom. For them. At first glance, she looked harmless. Late 30s, yoga pants, messy bun, and a toddler glued to one hip. She was stirring oatmeal with one hand and scrolling through a recipe app with the other. The most lethal thing in her kitchen appeared to be the expired Greek yogurt in the back of the fridge. The leader of the thugs, a guy with more neck tattoos than brain cells, kicked in the front door like he was auditioning for a low-budget crime movie. His two buddies fumbled behind him, carrying duffel bags and cheap pistols, all puffed up with fake bravado. Get on the ground. Now. The toddler blinked at them and yawned. The mom turned slowly, set the oatmeal spoon down, and smiled. I just mopped. Do you mind not bleeding all over my floors? They laughed. The nervous kind. The kind of laugh you do before you realize your life is about to go downhill very fast. Neck Tattoo waved his gun. Lady, do you know who we are? She stepped over a toy truck on the floor and replied calmly. Do you? That's when the smallest of the thugs, the one who looked like he still lived in his mother's basement, noticed something was off. Not just the calm demeanor, but the strange scar on her forearm. A clean, surgical cut. Almost military. Her eyes? Sharp. Focused. Like she was mentally measuring how long it would take to kill all three. She's not scared. She wasn't. Not even close. The thing is, Olivia Black used to be a name whispered in war rooms and crime dens across the world. Codename, Osprey. The most efficient contract assassin ever trained by a certain agency that officially doesn't exist. The only reason she disappeared was because she got pregnant during a mission in Prague and decided diaper changes were less messy than blood spatter. Until now, the lead thug tried to be clever. We were told the house would be empty. Just a single mom. We were told wrong. Yes, they were. What they didn't know was that the file on Olivia Black had been locked under 4 levels of clearance. The kind of file that glows red when someone tries to access it. The kind of file that ends careers if even glanced at. She looked at her kid, patted him on the head, and said gently, "Go to the pantry. Count to 100. Loudly. The little boy trotted off. 1, 2, 3. Olivia turned back to the thugs, who were starting to shift uncomfortably. You should leave. Right now, she said. The third guy, the one with the mohawk and a gold chain, laughed. Lady, we have guns. She tilted her head. Cute. And then it began. In a blur that not even the kitchen camera caught clearly, she slammed the spoon into the leader's throat with pinpoint accuracy. Not enough to kill him, but enough to send him sprawling. His gun clattered across the floor. Before the second could react, she vaulted off the kitchen counter, flipped midair, and landed a kick so hard it knocked out 2 of his teeth. He fired, missed, and shot the fridge instead. The poor fridge gave its life that day. Mohawk tried to run. She snatched a steak knife from the block and threw it. Yes, threw it, into his leg. He screamed, dropped his weapon, and hit the floor like a sack of idiocy. The leader, gasping, tried to crawl toward the front door. Olivia casually picked up a frying pan and bonked him on the head with such precision that it probably rewired his entire childhood. 32, 33, 34. Her kid was still counting in the pantry. By the time the police arrived, all 3 men were zip-tied with shoelaces, blindfolded with dish towels, and labeled with sticky notes that said things like, "Please charge for trespassing," and "This one peed himself." The cops were baffled. One of them, Officer Daniels, a guy who thought he was clever, said, "Ma'am, did you do this? You're not even bleeding." She smiled politely and handed him a fresh-baked muffin. Lemon poppy seed. But the story didn't end there. Word got around, not just to local law enforcement, but to people in suits who usually only show up after drone strikes or political coups. An unmarked car showed up at Olivia's house 2 days later. A tall woman with steel gray eyes stepped out, wearing a pinstripe suit and sunglasses indoors. Always a sign of trouble. Olivia Black. We need to talk. Olivia sipped her coffee. If you're here to recruit me, I have to be home by 3. There's a school play. The woman didn't smile. You broke the seal. They know you're alive. They're coming. Let them. By they, she meant the people she used to work with, and the ones she used to work against. The underworld is like Vegas. What happens there gets remembered, especially if you were the one writing obituaries for the worst of them. 1 week later, 2 more men tried to follow her from the grocery store. She led them into the gardening aisle, knocked them out cold with a rake and a bag of soil, then paid for her groceries like nothing happened. "Did you find everything okay today?" asked the cashier. She nodded. "Yep, just burying some weeds." From there, things escalated. Her suburban life became an action movie on shuffle. Karate at dawn, cupcakes at noon, sniper dodging by 3 p.m. She started carrying diapers and throwing stars in the same handbag. Her son never knew. All he knew was that Mom always made snack time interesting and could fold laundry with military precision. One day, a man known only as the broker sent a message through back channels. It read, "We know. You've been activated." The last time she was activated, 3 regimes collapsed and someone faked a meteor strike to explain it. She didn't like being activated. But if they wanted a war, she would give them a suburban apocalypse. The final straw came when they sent 4 operatives disguised as plumbers to her house. Big mistake. She greeted them with a smile and said, "You're right on time. My faucet leaks lies." They didn't even get to touch their tools. 10 seconds later, they were unconscious, tied up in her minivan, and listening to kids' sing-alongs on loop. She drove them to the local precinct, parked in front, rolled down the window, and shouted, "Special delivery." At this point, the FBI, CIA, and some very confused postal inspectors were all trying to figure out who the heck this soccer mom was and why trained killers kept showing up in her trash bins. Eventually, she got a visit from an old handler, someone she once trusted. He came without a weapon, a rare sign of respect in their world. He sat in her kitchen, next to a bowl of bananas and a pair of nunchucks. "You're causing waves, Olivia. Big ones." She looked tired. "I didn't start this." He leaned in. "But you're the only one who can end it." She stirred her tea and said nothing. Then she looked at her son, playing with toy soldiers on the rug, and made her choice. One final mission. She gave her neighbor a note in case she didn't come back. It read, "Please water the plants. And don't touch the knives in the spice drawer." She disappeared for 48 hours. When she returned, there were headlines. Unexplained explosion levels abandoned warehouse outside Moscow. Notorious weapons dealer found zip-tied to polar bear enclosure. And, most mysteriously, global criminal network mysteriously collapses after anonymous tip leads to 200 arrests. Olivia Black returned home in time for parent-teacher conferences. She baked brownies, wore a cardigan, smiled. No one suspected a thing, except maybe her son, who once found a grenade in the sock drawer and just assumed it was a weird avocado. At the end of the day, the thugs who tried to kill her were lucky. They walked away with bruises and a lifetime supply of trauma. Others weren't so lucky. But Olivia? She went back to her life. Being a mom, packing lunches, teaching her son how to handle bullies with words, of course. Mostly because beneath the yoga pants and peanut butter smudges lived a legend, one who'd earned her peace. But if anyone ever made the mistake of trying to take it again, well, let's just say, the world's most dangerous assassin always keeps her skills sharp, even if her knives are stored next to the cookie cutters.